Welcome back to Island Bike Life. Today we're going to be taking a long-term review look at the OneUp Components dropper post. I was an early adopter of this post, having received it just about a year ago last spring from OneUp upon its initial release. I already have a video on the channel that deals with some of my first impressions and the general install on this post. I'll put a link for that at the end of the video. This was OneUp Components' first foray into the world of dropper posts, and when it comes to a first-time product, they really did knock it out of the park. When it came to my overall first impressions, the abridged version is that it is a really great post. Immediately upon taking it out of the box, you can tell that it was really well built. This is a quality of standard that I've come to expect from OneUp, having now had a few of their products. For those who care about overall weight in grams, it is a very light post, but not at the expense of feeling cheap. It feels very solid, and the materials really make the post look and feel very high quality. It has a very short overall post stack height, which will allow it to work in a variety of frames. There are some nice features associated to it that other posts don't have. One of the things that I like the most is the OneUp Components etching along the back of the post that makes adjustments really easy, or finding your old position if for whatever reason you need to take the post out of your bike for maintenance or cleaning. One of the features that they offer that not many other posts do is the ability to adjust the travel within 50mm increments. The post itself comes in two sizings, 150 and 170mm, with a diameter of either 31.6 or 30.9. You can adjust that down on either sizing by a maximum of 50, like I said. So from 100 to 150 or 120 to 170. OneUp on their website has a really great video to show you how to adjust that travel height. The process is very simple. Once you have your height accounted for, where you'd like your maximum drop to be, you adjust an internal shim, which limits the amount that the travel will come up, anywhere within that 50mm increments. Another nice feature is that it's cable actuated, though it does have the ability to adjust the travel return time via adding air to the top of the stanchion. Gives you a little bit of the best of both worlds, depending on how fast you like that return time to be. When it came to the lever for OneUp Components, I was not overly impressed with it. It definitely was not my favorite. Definitely not the worst lever I've ever tried. That award goes to the original Fox transfer lever, which at least in my opinion is total garbage. The throw is okay. It feels a little bit loose. Again, it's very light. It's a composite lever. The ergonomics on it are okay. For me though, it just didn't mesh with how I like a dropper post lever to feel. It had a little bit too much play. I could never really get the proper amount of cable slack out of it, and I just didn't really enjoy the way that it felt when I was using it, because I do use my post so very often. One of the biggest things that annoyed me initially was that the post itself does not come with any cable or housing. That is sold with your lever from OneUp. If you don't use their lever, you're now stuck with buying another lever, which is a good option. I run a wolf tooth lever presently and I love it. The problem with that is most other manufacturers' levers don't come with the cable and housing, because most other posts do. Now, when it came to the identified issues over this review period of about a year, like I said, there really wasn't too many. Nothing broke or nothing was required to be handled under warranty whatsoever. So that was a nice thing. There were a few things though that I did find a little bit annoying, just from general maintenance and the overall product feel in certain conditions. When it came to the maintenance side of things, at the bottom of the post, it requires you to put your cable into this rather flimsy housing versus having it threaded through a hole that feels a little bit more secure. There's an O-ring that is meant to hold the cable in place while you manage your post into your C-tube, though it's pretty much useless, doesn't really do anything, and really is just more annoying than helpful. When it came to maintenance, it was pretty much worry-free. About halfway through the year, I did have to add a little bit of grease to the collar underneath, in between the stanchion and the main body. This took less than a few minutes to do. OneUp does have a video on how to do that. It follows the same basic steps as the adjustment shim. The air portion of the stanchion maintained all of the air pressure that I put in from day one. I did check it at about the 6-month mark and again very recently, and it's held pretty steadily right around 190 psi, which allowed for the return speed that I like. The only other thing that I noticed in terms of general use is there is a little bit of play in the stanchion in various directions. If I'm sitting on my saddle perfectly and I activate the lever and the angle is proper, it goes in and out no problem without any friction. However, if I'm a little bit further back on my seat or a little bit more forward, I can feel that the stanchion is rubbing on the internals. It's never scratched or anything like that, but you can tell when you're not in your proper position because there is just enough play that at a full 170 millimeters of drop, there is a little bit of friction as it's going down. Overall, through this year, it's never caused any failures or any issues like that. Over an even longer period of time, I'm not too sure, but it is something that I kind of keep in mind to make sure that I'm in a proper position when I'm going to be putting the post down so as to not hurt or damage anything. When it comes to the category comparison on this dropper, it really is a pretty good deal and has some pretty good perceived value. I'm going to be putting a much more in-depth comparison of a few of the more common dropper posts on the channel in a few weeks, so stay tuned for that. But a brief overview is that the OneUp Components dropper does come in well below the competition. One thing you have to keep in mind is the cost of the lever on top of the post itself. Whether you're getting OneUp's dropper, race face turbine, a Fox, a Wolf Tooth, or so forth, you're going to be looking to add on anywhere from $60 to $100 to the retail price, which does inflate that pricing point. Overall, my final thoughts remain pretty consistent with my initial impressions. I was really happy with this post. It performed almost flawlessly with very little maintenance. It never left me stranded out on a trail, either in a fully extended or a fully compressed situation, ruining my ride. Giant rock shocks, I'm looking at you when I'm talking about that. So really, what do I have to complain about? Not a whole lot. This is a post that I would 100% support and suggest to anybody using it. I really like the idea of having the adjustable travel with that 50 millimeter increments. For me, obviously on my bike, it wasn't a feature that I found that I needed to use because of the overall height that I needed it and the length of my C-tube, etc. But for others, in other situations, it's definitely going to be a reality and should definitely be something you look at if you're in that position. If you're looking to source one of these, you can get them either online direct through OneUp, or most local bike shops are going to be stocking these now. The guys down at Rock City Cycles here in Nanaimo will always have a couple of these in stock in both diameter and travel sizes. So go say hi to Doug and those guys and they'll sort you out. If you like what I'm doing here, think about hitting the subscribe and the like button. Leave me a comment down below and come and find me on Instagram. And as always, thanks again for watching. Now let's go hit the trails.